Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage, the Vault Series. Today's clip is one of the very first interviews I did back in the spring of 2005. I flew up to Detroit, Michigan to meet with one of the first two founding members of the Funk Brothers, keyboardist Joe Hunter. We had kind of a tongue-in-cheek interview in the front of Motown while Joe sat on the steps. Yes, there's going to be some traffic noise, and I'm sorry about that, but it's either with the traffic or no interview at all. We couldn't get into the studio that day. Joe talks about how he and James Jamison and drummer Papacita and Barry Gordy all got started in that little house. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. As well as those of you who can help, we do now have a Patreon account. Once again, I hope you enjoy it. Joe Hunter. Mr. Joe Hunter.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's
That's wonderful.
coincidental seeing you out here today.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be breathing.
That's all right. Well, we're outside of Pittsfield, USA. Is this a 24th?
This is the 24th of May. All right.
2005.
2005.
A whole lot
Year of our
of
Lord.
time has passed
Yes,
since
it
you
has.
first came up these steps, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's been quite a while. Quite a while.
A lot of history made here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stars that was made here at Motown. Mr. Gordy founded this place, and I'll say that a lot of musicians came through here. Good musicians. Some of them are still around, and most of them are gone. Most of them are deceased. Yes, sir. Really, I started working with Hank Ballard, and his bass player that had left introduced me to Mr. Gordy. I was working at the nightclub here, and Mr. Gordy came by. So that was 1958. From there on, I became a member of his studio, Hitsville. This is Hitsville, USA, that I'm sitting on the steps here. And it started with a fellow named Marv Johnson. His recording date won't come to me. And later, all the rest of them, Smokey Robinson, and quite a few others, Mary Wells, and all of those people we recorded. And Gordy began to get those hits, and the studio kept building. We called in other musicians. Of course, me and Papacita came about the same time. Papacita, when I recorded him, he was a drummer, very good drummer. Benny Benjamin is his real name, but he named himself Papacita. From there on in, we added different musicians to our slate. Then came the great James Jamison, bass player. That was Earl Van Dyke, who was in the military with me, and came later when I was about to leave.
So when you came to Detroit, where were you and how did you get hooked up with Barry?
Oh, well, actually, like I told you, I was working with Hank Ballard and Sonny Woods. He was getting ready to leave. He was the bass singer with Hank Ballard. And he left around about, for some reason, around about almost a month different. He had been smoking so much reefer and stuff, man, and every time he turned around, I was saying, here come the police, here come the police, and bloom, bloom, bloom. I said, I'm going to put in a notice. So I gave him like the union required, a 2 weeks notice. And when I came here, I bumped right straight into Sonny. Sonny Woods was up here in Detroit. And he says, I gave your number to a fellow named Barry Gordy, and he'll probably be calling you. I told him where I got me a gig down there at Little Sam's here in Detroit, a pretty popular club. And he told Barry where I was working. Well, that's where Barry came in. and he told me who he was and that he was sitting at the bar, that I want a drink. And when I came off of the bandstand to come over there, he would like to talk with me. So that's the way I met Gordy. He told me about what he was. He said he didn't have much money, but we could make it up the stairs together. So I'm still climbing. Still climbing the steps. Barry used to hum tunes in your ear, expect for you to get the groove and play them. He could play a little of himself. He'd give you the type of beat stuff that you wanted, and he seemed like he was limited in his chords, but he could give you enough to know what the tune was about. And if you had a good ear, in which I did have a good ear, I could hear. So he said, you fit the thing that I want. You're the man I want.
So you probably the first musician signed on to Motown?
Yeah, me and Benny. He knew Benny, which was a drummer.
Uh-huh.
And this particular drummer, I don't know. He knew melodies. He would say, I'm going to play Stardust. And he played Stardust on the drums. But he was a musician that loved melodies, and it seemed like he was just born with the gift of knowing what kind of beats to go with it. So me and him together were really the first two musicians that hit these studios. And we had to get somebody to go with it. We had to have some guitars and some bass player. There was Professor Williams and another cat they called him Professor Tweed Beard. Mr. Tweed Beard was an alcoholic, and he could play, but when Jamison walked through the door, they said, we got the man we need.
And how did you know James beforehand?
In a way of speaking, I didn't know him, but I had seen him playing with a fellow named Washboard Willie.
Mm-hmm.
Willie played a washboard, and what he was playing with Washboard Willie is rhythmatic. But when he came here, everything that we could play, he was there on it. I didn't know he was that good until he came here. Yeah.
Do you remember the first record you played on here?
Yes, the first record was a thing called Come to Me. Come to me, boom, boom, da boom, boom, da boom, 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 boom. And the next tune that he had was a tune called Merry-Go-Round. So I think Eddie Holland did a version of the Merry-Go-Round. And the studio we cut at, which was not the studio, Barry took us to United Sounds, which some people from South Africa owned that studio down there, and Jim Syracuse. And Jim Syracuse picked the Merry-Go-Round. That left Barry with Come to Me. Come to Me was the one that made the hit. That's the one that United Artists, I think, wanted. United Artists? Yeah. United Artists. Yeah, I think he leased it over to United Artists for about 5 years. And they taught me a little about publishing, songwriters' contracts and whatnot. They wanted me to stay locked up behind a desk in a white collar job. I said, no, man, I want to see the world. So, but I was taught a whole lot about the business administration to a great extent.
You played with the Supremes?
Yeah, I played just a couple of tunes with the Supremes. Played Florence Ballard was leading in. She had a thing called Buttered Popcorn. I played on that, and then there was another one with Baby, why the chop, you know what I mean? Played on that. I played on the First Temptations tune, which was one of the thing that Barry said, "Dream come true."
You remember Joe Messino coming in? And
oh, Joe Messina was one of the first persons here. He was one of the first guitarists. Him and Eddie Willis. I don't know which beat the other, but them two were the first guitar players here. Joe Messina and Eddie Willis, and then Robert White. White was great. He was the one that put that thing out. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, my girl.
My girl. Yeah, he had the thing on My Girl. Yeah. Right.
Tell me, was Motown, was that a nickname already for Motor City, or is that a name that they came up with?
Nobody was using Motown. First I heard of it was Gordy himself, when he sort of named that Motor City Motown. Motown. Pittsfield, Motown.
What year did you leave Motown?
I left around about a little after the middle of '63. I had stayed here 5 years. Was good. I was getting a divorce, feeling a little emotion. And I told Barry, I says, I'm throwing in the towel. He said, man, for what? He says, what position do you want? And I said, I don't want no positions. You know, you get a feeling when you think you're in love and you're getting a divorce. And I told him, I said, I got to get myself together. I said, I'm losing Joe Hunter, you know what I mean? So I walked out the door, and my buddy that I'd been in the military with came in, which was Earl Van Dyke. That's when Earl came in. So Earl, good piano player.
Well, I'm proud to say that I got to meet you, and first I'd like to thank you for all the years I've enjoyed the music y'all made.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. And there's guys like you, Mr. Chambers, that always inspires us to go and keep us in front of the people. Says, well, I didn't know they were doing that. I never knew who was playing that, and so forth and so on. But it's guys like you that keeps us going.